Hey guys, I am on my bouncy ball right now, my birthing ball. I wanted to give you an update. If you're new here, my name is Carrie, and here on Caring with Carrie, we talk all things kids. And for the past few months, we've pretty much been talking about my kid. For the most part, I am a nanny, currently to 6 children. That is soon going to change, and not just because of the baby. Nothing is set in stone yet, so I will hold off on updating you there. But there are going to be a lot of changes in the next couple months, a lot of big things going on, and that may affect my channel and how much I'm able to upload. But I'm really hoping that once the new year starts, I'll be able to get into a rhythm with uploading and my job and the baby and everything like that. So if you have not followed me over on Instagram yet, I'd encourage you to follow me over there. My name is Caring with Carrie, same as over here. I update like very regularly over there. In fact, if you're watching this and you follow me on Instagram, you're like, I kind of know all of this already. So this is really just like to update you guys on YouTube, but also to kind of document for the future. I like being able to document this journey for me and my family as well. So yeah, let's hop into it. I am 40 weeks and 1 day. So yeah, my due date was yesterday, and little miss is still not here, and technically we could have forced her to be here today, and so I'm going to talk more about that. So last time I left you with going to my 37-week appointment and thinking I was going to have this baby early, because at my 36-week appointment, my nurse midwife could feel her head right on the other side of my cervix. My cervix was really soft. I was having, you know, like we talked about in the last video, I ended up having a lot of symptoms that usually mean labor is near. Well, it turns out it was probably just a stomach bug. And ever since that cervical check, she has bounced back up and just been floating sky high above my pelvis, not descending to the pelvis at all, like at all. First of all, I just want to address, I know I look like a mess right now, and a part of me doesn't care. And then there's another part of me that's like, y'all better get used to seeing me like a mess if I'm going to document newborn days, because I ain't going to be getting dressed up for a video when I am just trying to survive newborn life. So yeah, just, you know, just preparing you guys. Okay, back into the story. So at my 39-week appointment, they did measurements. She was measuring 8 pounds 14 ounces at 39 weeks, so a week ago. I know that ultrasounds can be off by 15 to 20%, especially towards the very end of the pregnancy. However, with me having gestational diabetes, it is more likely that she is going to be on the bigger side. We had you know, I'm in my 2nd week of maternity leave. So after the 39-week appointment, some of the nanny kids got really sick, and one of the nanny dads tested positive for COVID. So we decided to ask to start my maternity leave early, thinking that more than likely we were going to be able to have little Miss Charlotte in the next week or so from that point, so from a week ago. With the way my nanny family is doing it, it's 6 weeks of 50% pay with maternity leave. So my brain is mush, but I'm pretty sure last Wednesday is when we started it, so we're already a week into the maternity leave. So that's an issue all on its own, because we're trying to figure out, like, okay, once my maternity leave ends, am I going to actually be able to go back to work? It depends on a couple of things. At the 39-week appointment, she went ahead and did a cervical check, and my cervix was still closed. She ended up pushing through my cervix with a finger, and she was like, let's hope that this stays to 1 centimeter, and then maybe the baby's head will come down, because right now she's still sky high, and could get things going for you. So at that same appointment, we decided to go ahead and schedule the induction for the following week. The reason why we did that is because we were like, okay, she's a bigger baby, it would give her a better chance of not having a C-section if we were to go ahead and try to induce. If she was somewhat ready, then she'll come and we'll be good. Also, my mom is flying up for a week, and I know that looking back, this kind of sounds selfish now, but I'm like, oh, my mom's coming to help with the baby. Like, I don't want her to waste a week here. We scheduled it for the following Monday, so that would be 2 days ago from when I'm recording this. And we went in at 5 p.m. and they wanted to do the cook balloon induction, which she called it a cook balloon, but like, it was definitely a Foley balloon or a Foley bulb. I don't know, because when I researched it, like, a cook balloon's only one balloon up top. A Foley balloon has the 2 balloons. It doesn't really matter. I was expecting it to be pretty painful because I've seen a lot of people talk about the cook balloon and say that with the cook balloon or the Foley bulb, that it was worse than labor and that it was just like horrible and awful and all these things. Well, inserting it wasn't too bad, and I couldn't really feel it too much, and their plan was to leave it in for 12 hours. So they probably put it in around, like, even though I got admitted at 5, like, not until closer to 8, like 7:30, 7:45. I started having some issues. We had eaten like a pretty big dinner. Like, we went out for what is called a labor dinner, and I tried to essentially carb load, thinking I was going to be in labor and needed the energy. And so yeah, I ate like a ton of food, knowing that if I had to go on Pitocin I would be hungry, so I didn't want to be hungry. And I probably ate too much, and I also ate a lot of gluten, which, if you don't know, I'm allergic to gluten, but I can take these enzymes that will digest the gluten for me, so that for the most part I deal with it okay. Like, I deal with it fine. I think I probably had too much, and it left me really nauseous the whole night. I hardly got any sleep because of the nausea, but also because my upper legs kept feeling like they were falling asleep, and they hurt so bad that I literally couldn't sleep. And they gave me like 4 or 5 medications to try to combat everything that was going on. And then I was having like constipation, but it was loose. Sorry, probably TMI. I'm just like, I never experienced these things before before what happened, and so for me, like, if I'm trying to listen to somebody else's story going into an induction, and if I had heard somebody else went through something similar, I guess I would feel like more prepared. So maybe this will help somebody, I don't know. I had like a really hard time with that, and then it would cause contractions whenever I did go to the bathroom or try, that were very painful against that balloon. Well, they finally took it out the next morning, and the thing that like bothered me the most about having the balloon in was seriously my legs. The balloon itself, yes, it, you know, had a little bit of pressure, but it wasn't like crazy. And come to find out, it's because I was only dilated to a 3, and I had apparently been like open a fingernail amount when they put it in. Baby girl was still floating sky high, so they said, all right, we're going to start you on Pitocin. They do it by 2s, so the lowest setting is on 2, and every 30 minutes they come bump it up by 2. So, you know, I'm a little nervous because I heard, okay, Pitocin contractions, they're the worst. Your body, like, if you have not heard of Bridget Taylor, Built to Birth, look her up on YouTube. I will try to link the video below that talks about it. But basically, Pitocin, like, it doesn't cross into your brain like oxytocin does. While with oxytocin, which is the natural hormone that your body produces when you're in labor, it will tell the brain when your body needs a break, and it will regulate your contractions to be the strength that it's not going to be too much for you to handle and all that. Pitocin doesn't cross into the brain, so it doesn't receive those signals, and that's why Pitocin contractions can be so difficult to deal with. So all day long I was struggling because I had really not slept the night before, So all day long I'm trying to like take 15-minute little cat naps here and there when I could. I was feeling some of the contractions, but for the most part I wasn't feeling them at all. And they continued to bump my Pitocin up to 24. So 20 is the maximum, but technically they can go up to 40 if they have special permission to go over 20, which they did, so they put me up to 24. And then the nurse midwife came in and they did another check on me, and after laboring all day, so it was like 9 to 6, maybe 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. ish, maybe even a little later than that, they had me on that Pitocin. I had only dilated to a 4. Baby girl's still sky high. So they said, we're gonna let you go home and rest and come back on Thursday morning. So this is now Tuesday, me being induced all day on Tuesday. And they said, come back really early Thursday morning, like 5 a.m. So we're like, okay. And then they said, what we'll do is we'll just start over with the Pitocin again. Hopefully that will get you going. If not, what we can try is manually pushing down on your belly, pushing the baby down while the doctor breaks your water, and hopefully the cord doesn't slip out and we have to go for an emergency C-section. I knew from that point, I think that something wasn't quite right, something didn't feel right about the situation, and I had kind of felt that way throughout the day as well, just feeling like this is off. I'm up to 24 Pitocin, hardly feeling the contractions. My body is not responding at all. She's not even descending into the pelvis. She's not ready. We waited until probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday to finally make the decision. We prayed and prayed about it. And we called the nurse midwife and we said, hey, what will happen if we wait? She said, well, you definitely have a big baby right now. And I'm not saying you can't birth a big baby, but it's possible that the reason she's not descending is because she's already so big that she can't get down there. Basically, if that's the case, then whether I go in today or go in 2 weeks, when my body naturally starts labor, or in between now and 42 weeks, if my body naturally starts labor, then the reason why she hasn't descended is because she's too big, then I'm gonna have to go for a C-section anyways. But if the reason she hasn't descended is because she's just not ready yet, I want to give her that chance to come on her own time and for me to have a natural birth and not have to go to a C-section. If we had chosen the induction route, we would most definitely be going for a C-section, like either way. So this is like a way to give her a chance to come naturally. And we also felt like, okay, we're saying to everyone, we're trusting in God's timing for this baby to come out, but then trying to take it into our own hands and force her out. And that felt so wrong to me. And it really wasn't actually trusting God in that way. I think the struggle comes in when you have to think, you know, as my husband honestly struggled with, being the provider of the family. He wants to make sure we're taken care of financially, but also physically. And we're going on a trip on an airplane in December 22nd through 28th. So if for some reason she were to wait until my 42-week mark, which is what the cutoff is, at 42 weeks I'm going in to get induced if I haven't started labor yet. But that would put my 6th week of recovery on that week that we're in Massachusetts. And of course, as my husband, he cares about us and worries about the physical state and the recovery and all of that, especially if I have to go for a C-section, because usually C-sections are not just 6 weeks, they're 8 weeks. So that's another concern, is my maternity leave would definitely be over before my recovery ends, you know? So there's gonna be some weeks where we just like don't get paid probably. My nanny family is really awesome, and it's possible that we could talk them into some kind of deal. I'm not going to push that because that would be unfair of me to ask, especially because a lot of people in the United States don't even get paid at all for their maternity leave. So I feel blessed to have something. So yeah, it's been mentally kind of hard. We had everything in order, everything in place. everything ready to go to meet our baby girl this week, and it's probably not going to happen. I've had like a couple signs, I guess, and I now talk about them real quick, but basically after she did the cervical check at 39 weeks where she pushed through, I had my mucus plug coming out. The day before induction and the day of induction, I was having a lot of mucus plug and bloody show come out, and I assumed, like, I wanted to believe it was because my body was like, yeah, we're on board, we're ready for this. But I think it's probably just because everyone was like digging up in there. I'm sorry, that's very lovely terminology, but I'm pretty sure that's what's like what happened. Other than that, I have a few Braxton Hicks here and there. She still has the hiccups. I know I told you in the last video that like once they stop practice breathing, it means that labor is probably going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours because it's God's design that they don't accidentally inhale meconium. I don't know. I actually saw a few posts where a couple of people said their baby had hiccups while they were in labor, because technically hiccups happen in the womb from them practice breathing. So whenever I have hiccups, I'm like, okay, it's not coming. So I think for the most part, it does mean that baby's not ready to come yet, but I also know it's possible to have hiccups when you're in labor. For the baby to have hiccups when you're in labor, I don't know, but it's kind of discouraging. Like every time she starts hiccups, I'm like, oh, okay, not today. She's big enough that last night I had a hard time sleeping because anytime she would move, it actually hurt. She just kicked me and it hurt. So she's to the point where even just her moving does hurt me. So that's been hard, but other than that, like, I feel really good and really at peace with our decision about waiting. If I had to be honest, my intuition, my gut tells me what's probably going to happen is that I go into 42 weeks. She'll be huge. I'll have to get a C-section. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer by saying that. I just, in my gut, I kind of feel like that's going to happen. I have a hard time believing that I'm going to go into labor naturally. I've believed from the beginning that she was going to come late. Then, you know, I switched to thinking she was going to come early only because of some signs that were misleading and some people who were misleading. I really believe I'm probably going to run late. This is my first baby. My mom ran late with all of us kids. You know, I know she's going to be big. She's going to be pretty big. I have a BPP ultrasound tomorrow. I have to go in twice a week now until the 42-week mark. So right now we are a week and 6 days out from the 42-week mark. So 13 days. I don't think she's going to come naturally. I don't think labor is going to start naturally. So you may be wondering why we are even doing this. Why not just get it over with and have a C-section? Well, because I'm not God. And it's possible that I'm wrong. I'm wrong a lot. So it's possible that, you know, she does come naturally. You know, basically the nurse midwife was like, what could happen is you start labor on your own and you dilate to 8-9 centimeters and we see that she's not descending still, which would indicate that she is too big and we would have to have a C-section. For me, I just want to put it out there that people who choose C-sections or whatever, like, there's nothing wrong with that. You have to do what's right for you. For me, I know that C-section recovery would be a lot harder. I know that mentally, with me personally, I would have a higher chance of postpartum depression if I had to recover from a C-section, because it's harder to care for your baby when you are recovering in that way. I know that having a C-section makes having vaginal deliveries harder. VBACs are possible, and that's what I would do, is I would try with baby number 2 for a vaginal birth. But when you have gestational diabetes, the likelihood of having it for the next baby is high. You know, that means that I can only have so many kids. It would mean that I would only be allowed to have so many kids with getting a C-section every time. and there's a lot of complications that comes with cutting you open and the scar tissue and being able to get pregnant after a C-section and all of that. There's just so much, and I know that my body is so sensitive to anything and everything. Seriously, it really is. So I'm struggling with that. That's kind of where my struggle is coming in. I know that it affects breastfeeding. I know that it affects like the fluid being squeezed out of their lungs as they go through the birth canal versus that not happening when you just pull them out. I know that it could mean she's not on my chest for very long if she's having issues because of that. I'm just trying to trust God through all of this. I'm not gonna cry on camera. You know, I think we're doing the right thing because we're trusting God. But it's hard not to be afraid of things that are possibilities. You know, Bible says apparently 365 times, or at least 365 times, do not fear or do not be afraid in some way or fashion. It says it that many times. And you know, it's not the process that I fear, it's probably the unknown, you know. And so I do trust God. Like, I don't want to keep saying I trust God but I'm also afraid, you know. I think it's natural for me to be afraid of thinking, okay, the reality is if I have to go through a C-section, I have to deal with A, B, and C, right? It also means a much higher hospital bill, you know. God will provide for us. It's easier said than done to just let everything go and not worry about a single thing and not try to be feeling like you have to be responsible, you know. We are going to be doing our best to be responsible parents, so that means that we have to be responsible financially. It means we have to be responsible with our health and everything that comes with that. So hard to balance between trying to be responsible and use the brain God gave us and completely trusting in Him and just letting go of some things. So if you could keep us in your prayers, go follow me on Instagram. That's where you will see the most updates. Thank you guys for listening to my update today, and I hope it's able to help somebody out there. Love you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.